Yeah, week 7, Monday Night Football doubleheader. Another London game and some big trades happening earlier in the week. A lot to get into. So sit back. These are your picks for every game. Yo, Dave Loughy here at Loughy_D on Twitter if you want to hit your boy up. And as always, if you don't mind, take a single second. Hit that thumbs up, subscribe to the channel, and give me your best plays for any of these games down below in the comments. I try and read and respond to all of them. And as always, guys, shop around on sportsbooks. I tell you every week, if you're still not on Bet365 yet and you're in any of these states, pause this video, sign up, takes a minute to get instantly verified, and collect your $200 in bonus bets. Deposit 10, bet 5, get $200 in bonus bets instantly the moment your first bet settles. Even if you're betting the first drive of a game on Thursday Night Football, it does not matter. It's into your account. I have turned my Bet365 account because they just went live in Pennsylvania in July. I put it through the roof by simply getting bonus bets on Thursday Night Football, $70 in each of the last 2 Thursday Night Football games, parlaying those into big wins like, 4-1, Breece Hall, 50+ receiving yards, Deebo Samuel, alt 100+ receiving and rushing yards last week. We're just building it up with what they're giving us. It's amazing. So it's not just the $200 in bonus bets, but it's $10 for every touchdown scored in every Thursday Night Football game when you bet a same game parlay on those. Trust me, if you're not on Bet365 yet, no better time to do it than now with Thursday Night Football right around the corner. Link is in the description and in the pinned comment. It'll get you there, your bonus bets and everything on top of that. Let's talk football. All right, first up, Thursday night, Broncos 1.5-point favorites against the Saints, 37.5-point total here. Ugly game we got on our hands for Thursday night. And the Saints will likely be without Chris Olave dealing with a concussion and Derek Carr. Also, Rashid Shaheed has what's being considered a concerning knee injury, so that's not good. Probably sidelined for this. Taysom Hill might be back, but what capacity? So it looks like Spencer Rattler gets another start here. And for Denver, Patrick Surtain probably misses this game with a concussion. That's not good. But Riley Moss has been stellar in coverage this season. Keep an eye on the hip injury, but I'd expect him to go. He was limited in Monday's estimated practice. And Brandon Jones has been one of the best safeties in football. Look, let's put it very simply. Vance Joseph has this defense absolutely rolling right now. Not to mention, their defensive line has far exceeded expectations. And the Saints have serious issues on the offensive line, as well as no answer at quarterback. It doesn't mean Bo Nix. Here's the thing. It does not mean that Bo Nix is primed to just carve up this Saints defense. I know the Saints defense has had some trouble lately. No doubt. We saw it last week. They got decimated by the Bucs, right? But it's still Bo Nix. And unless he's facing like a true pass funnel Buccaneers defense when they were injured, they had what? No Vita Vea. They had no Kalijah Kancey. They had no Antoine Winfield. Then he's really just a below average quarterback. That's what he is. And he'll have to travel to New Orleans on a short week in prime time to take on a desperate Saints team that went 2-0 and has now dropped 4 straight games. I'll have a spread bet for this game in my Thursday video. Always. I'll cover this game more in depth with props and a whole lot more. We've been crushing the props game on these primetime spots, by the way. We'll get into some later. But right now, give me the under 37.5 while it's still there. Just because I think this is going to be such an ugly, low-scoring game. I would lean the Saints plus 110 on Caesars. Money line here. I'm not betting the Broncos as a road favorite with Bo Nix at the helm. They've been impressive. Their defense is good, but I'm not doing it. I don't care about the injuries to the Saints. If nothing else, I'm not betting the Broncos. 4 straight losses creates real desperation at home. Give me the under 37, and I'd lean Saints money line at plus 110. I think that moves. Patriots at the Jags. Jags 5.5-point favorites, 42.5-point total. I mean, what the hell are we supposed to do with this one? The Jags stuck around in London for back-to-back games across the pond for the second straight season. Didn't do them any good last week, though. I mean, they got dog-walked by the Bears. We had a really nice week on sides from this video overall, but this was by far my biggest miss. By far. I thought the experience in London would benefit this Jags team against a rookie quarterback, but that was clearly not the case. Just flat out wrong. And we had the Jags money line at plus 120. By the time it closed, they were minus 102, minus 105 in most spots. Either way, big miss, we move on. But the drop passes, terrible defense, poor coaching. It was just over from the jump in this game. I don't know how you can back the Jags right now. It's clearly a must-win game or Doug Peterson's job is gone. They might leave him in London, right? They might close the door and say, hey, enjoy Europe, friend, because you're not coming home with us. But Doug Peterson even said the team needs a culture change after that loss. I mean, a culture change typically means a head coaching change. It's not very encouraging. Yeah, you'd think they could make it happen this week against the Patriots, but I'm just not convinced. Plus, Drake May, while he had plenty of hiccups in his first career start, he also made some nice plays against a good Houston defense. Finished with 3 touchdowns, 2 interceptions, flashed downfield passing ability that we haven't seen out of Jacoby Brissett all year. Let's just take the over here, knowing how bad both of these defenses have been gashed. Right? I'm taking the over. 42.5. I'm not laying the points on Jacksonville inside of 6. But I don't want New England either. Over 42. Both of these teams are terrible, but if Drake May can do anything, any bit of what we saw last week, and their defense looks as bad as they were, over 42.5 looks like a nice spot. Lions at the Vikings. Vikings 2.5-point favorites, 49.5-point total. Yeah, the books did us dirty with this one. Same with the next game we'll talk about. Vikings 2.5-point favorite. That's right where this should be. Aiden Hutchinson suffered a gruesome leg injury, which is brutal, just brutal, considering, he's the best pass rusher, maybe the best defensive player in football. This guy literally leads the league in sacks, pressures, quarterback hits, and hurries, and the Lions already had their bye. I mean, he played less games than almost any other team. It's a massive loss, especially considering they can stop the run really well, but they need heavy pressure to alleviate that secondary, which, look, I'm not saying it's a weakness, but it's the weakest part of their defense. And Minnesota's primed for a disappointing game too. It's a divisional spot, so that's not lost on me. But I'm not sure that this is the week. And look, I'm not pretending like Aiden Hutchinson moves the line 3 points. Obviously not, but I do think this is a huge loss. They're coming off a bye, Minnesota, where Detroit's coming off an emotional blowout win over Dallas, where Dan Campbell, stupidly in my opinion, decided that he was going to make a statement late in that game after what happened last year, which wasn't even Dallas's fault. It was the ref's fault. Give me the Vikings, though, -2.5 at home. I think they get one more win and continue to stay undefeated, at least until next week. Texans at the Packers. Packers laying 2.5, 47.5-point total. I should probably be thoroughly convinced by the Texans after that ass whooping they handed to the Patriots on Sunday, but I don't love grabbing them inside of a field goal at Lambeau. They're dealing with some key injuries too. Nico Collins is on the IR. Didn't stop him last week, understood. But several other notable defensive players are big question marks heading into week 7 as well. And this is just one of those matchups where it's kind of as even as you're going to get, right? Like the Packers are getting the 2.5 based on neutral field. This is just a pick 'em, isn't it? So it's little surprised that they're 2.5-point favorites. I kind of like this spot for Green Bay, though, for one reason. You're facing a non-conference opponent that's not at full strength, and LaFleur's 24-15 against the spread at home as a favorite, 62%, and 30-15, that's 67% against the spread at home as the Packers head coach. So I do like that. As 2.5 inside of a field goal, I would lean here, Packers -2.5. Eagles -3 at the Giants, 43.5-point total. Again, guys, a lot of 3.5s out there. This is yet another reason why I tell you to shop around on sports books. If you can get the 3, do not grab the 3.5. Do not grab the hook just because it's a sports book you like. Even if you're not going on to Bet365, if you're not in one of those states, although highly suggest you do because 200 bonus bets is a spot that you want to take advantage of. By the way, must be 21 years or older to gamble. If you have a gambling problem, call or text 1-800-GAMBLER. But make sure to grab the 3 if you're going to grab the Eagles here. If you're going to grab the Giants, make sure to grab the 3.5. Okay? It's that simple before we even get into the analysis. But the Eagles got a much-needed win coming out of the bye. It was anything but convincing, though. Cleveland stinks. They're one of the worst teams in football. Deshaun Watson's flat out terrible. So a 4-point home victory coming off of the bye with additional rest, that's nothing to chirp about. Unless, of course, you're Nick Sirianni and you decide to talk shit to the home fans who are paying money to watch you play painfully mediocre football. I mean, my God. Look, I'm an Eagles fan. I'm a big Eagles fan. And, I live in the area, okay? And everybody I know, everyone that I was texting with and talking to after the game, everyone I know, big Eagles fans as well, would have been perfectly fine with Sirianni getting fired after that win following his clownery at the end of that game. I'm just letting you know where we stand on this. Either way, Philly can't put it all together right now. Outside of that week 1 win against Green Bay and Brazil where they were humming on offense in the second half, They're averaging 18 points per game. And yes, the injuries to A.J. Brown, Devontae Smith, those were big, no doubt about it. They had Lane Johnson missing for a game. Something still isn't right here. I assume Neighbors will be back for the Giants after being sidelined since late September, but we don't know. And the Giants have been a lot better at pass blocking as well. Their O-line was finally healthy, but here's the problem. Andrew Thomas, his foot might keep him out of this game. And that could be a huge issue for this Giants team. Like a big enough issue to where I would be leaning Giants to where I would then look towards the Eagles at -3. I think we wait on this one with the Neighbors news, with the Andrew Thomas practice updates, because it's only Tuesday. I want to get these out early because there are some early spots we want to hit for sure. But I would definitely see myself grabbing this 3 on Philly if those guys remain out. That's a big deal to me. So I'd lean Philly right now, -3 on Bet365. But we got to wait on those spots. Bengals at the Browns. Bengals 6.5-point road favorites, 43-point total. Why do I do this to myself? Tell me why. Actually, what am I talking? I did it with the Browns last week. We backed the Browns last week, and as bad as they were on the road against an Eagles team coming off a bye, guess what? They still covered easily, even despite the outright loss. Deshaun Watson's terrible, but it doesn't mean bad quarterbacks and bad teams can't cover, especially in divisional spots as big dogs at home. How many times have we seen it? And yes, Amari Cooper was traded to the Bills. Yes, he was. But does that really make a big difference? Like, I don't really think it does. What matters more to me is the fact that the offensive line is starting to get healthy. Jack Conklin's back. Jedrick Wills is healthy. Ethan Pozik's status is questionable. That's a big deal. He's day-to-day. But Nick Chubb is expected back, even in limited fashion. That's a huge deal. It's still a good Browns defense, though. I don't think anyone would deny that. You know, they've had some underwhelming performances, but at home, this is a good Browns defense. They're 6.5-point divisional home dogs against the Bengals, who have a single convincing win all season, which came against the Panthers in a game that they still allowed 24 points. This just seems like too big of a number, and it moved through 6 once Amari Cooper got traded. I don't think he moves the needle. I really don't. The Browns are 2-4 against the spread. The Bengals are 3-3. But it's just one of those spots where I have to do it, okay? It's the ugly game of the week. That's all there is to it. Give me Browns plus 6.5. Seahawks at the Falcons. Falcons laying 50.5-point total. I think there's a good chance that Reek Woolen is back this week. You know, Mike McDonald said that he was improving last week but wasn't ready. I think he could be back this week, which would be a big help in that secondary. They've also struggled there recently. There's no doubt, but they're getting healthier. And I know the teams they beat this season aren't good, like objectively aren't good, and didn't have good quarterback play at all. But I actually think this matchup lines up well for Seattle's offense. And here's why. Atlanta gets no pressure on the quarterback. No pressure at all. By the way, these are spots we're going to be hitting over on Tails and in the premium Discord this week. For sure. If you ever want to join me, NFL24 is the promo code. Link in the description and in the pinned comment. It'll get you 50% off. Less than $5 for the first week. Less than $15 for the first month. We're coming off last night. Hit that Breece Hall 4-1, 50+ receiving yards. Our ladder plays this season, oh, let me tell you, they've been solid. The ladder plays is where we like to cook. And if you enjoy that type of stuff, also grinding out wins with straight bets and props, if you enjoy that type of stuff and a great community that continues to grow by the day, and downloading the Tails app over on the Discord, where you get all of the push notification alerts on every bet straight to your phone, and also in Discord, if you like that type of stuff and you like winning money and you like hitting some of these long shot bets, NFL24, use that promo code, jump in the Discord, jump in the Tails app over on Odd Shopper. That'll get you 50% off your first week or month. Shout me out. Say what's up in Discord as well. I'd love to have you. But I like this spot for Geno because Atlanta gets no pressure on the quarterback. They're also dead last in sacks. They have 5 sacks this season. And yeah, their secondary's been strong. They have good safeties. But Geno Smith has been one of the most accurate, this is not hyperbole, and one of the best quarterbacks this year with a clean pocket when he's not getting pressure. Under pressure, he's been one of the worst quarterbacks. I don't think he's going to see a ton of pressure here. And Atlanta's offense is firing right now. They have no shortage of weapons, especially with Kirk Cousins rounding back into form. So I generally hate betting overs on games with this big of a total at 50.5, but I don't mind it. And now that Seattle's moved to a 3-point dog from 2.5, I actually like them to bounce back here after 3 straight losses. So Lean Seahawks +3. Give me the over 50.5. I think we have real ingredients for a shootout in this one in Atlanta, in the Dome. Ooh, this could be fun. Titans at the Bills. Bills 8.5-point favorites, 41.5-point total. All right, look, I don't care if Amari Cooper plays or doesn't play this week. I assume they'll work him into this offense in some capacity, but I got to back Buffalo here. I got to do it. I may even look to bet an alt spread once they start populating across these books, maybe like 16.5. I don't know. If I decide on that, I will certainly drop that one in on Tails and in the Discord. We're going to have some fun with this game. But after what we've seen out of Will Levis, my God, there's simply no way I can bet on him right now. There isn't. Callahan might decide to start Mason Rudolph this week too. It just feels like, even if they do, it feels like a smash for this Bills team. Like, it doesn't just feel like one of those games where they just roll. And I know the trend of 6-point plus point underdogs covering the spread at an alarming clip, even winning straight up at a pretty decent clip. I mean, 11-8 prior to last week. But we saw that come crashing down last week. 6-point plus point underdogs were 1-3. It's 1-3. This is just one of those spots Buffalo, I think, dominates. And it's honestly a little surprising that they aren't 10-point favorites. We'll be considering some alt spreads. So, yeah, I'll hit you up in the Discord if I decide on that once we get them. Bills -8.5. Dolphins, Colts -3, 43.5-point total. Look, there are usually 1 or 2 games every week where I will tell you guys straight up, I'm just uninterested. I'm completely fading, and this is one of them. I have no faith in the Dolphins with their just total ineptitude at quarterback right now. We already know Tua is not coming back. He could return soon, hopefully with a Guardian cap. He might look like a silly goof, but it might keep him alive. And I have zero faith in Anthony Richardson, assuming he's starting, and he's supposed to, as long as there's no setbacks. It's really amazing to think how Joe Flacco last year saved the Browns almost single-handedly. And he's been currently in the process of saving the Colts, yet they got to go back to Anthony Richardson. I can't say I totally understand it. If Flacco was starting, I'd be all over the Colts. And guess what? They wouldn't be 3-point favorites either. They'd be more than 3-point favorites. And depending where it's at, I'd probably still back them. But I'm not backing Richardson with how careless he's been with the football. That's the problem, right? These interceptions can turn real ugly. Put opposing teams with bad offenses in great field position, turn into pick sixes. I don't want to risk that. I have no interest. He's such a boomer bust quarterback. It's a huge player. It's a terrible, terrible mishap. Yeah, neither side appeals to me here. I'm not touching either. I'm not touching the total either. I'll pass. Panthers at the Commanders. Commanders laying 7.5, 51.5-point total. It's odd that I'm actually liking some of these higher totals this week, and this, to be fair, it's far from my favorite game. But the over at 51.5, I actually think it's viable, and I'll tell you why. The Commanders and Panthers are both 5-1 each to the over this year. And the Panthers are 4-1 to the over in all 4 of Dalton's starts. Now, granted, we've definitely seen this total adjusted up a little bit. Maybe the books are catching on, so that's why it's not my favorite. Like, if this is a 48.5, 47.5, you're smashing it. But Washington, their offense has been excellent. Carolina can't stop anybody. And it's not just like they're allowing 34 points per game, worst in the league. It's not just some fluke, right? I'm not just throwing nonsensical surface level stats at you. It's because they legitimately don't have any talent on defense. And any talent they did have on defense is hurt or traded. It's bad. But here's the thing. They pass block well. Which is why we've been betting Panthers overs every single week since Andy Dalton took over at starting quarterback for Bryce Young. And I assume the sharp side, you're going to see a lot of, sharps on the Panthers at 7.5-point dogs, but I'm not going there. Even outside of a touchdown. They're 1-5 against the spread this season. They're 5-16-2 against the spread since the beginning of last season. They literally, what happens with this team is they can keep a game semi-close. And then at the end, it's just their defense is so bad that you can't keep anything competitive through 60 minutes, through 4 quarters. I'd rather play the over here, but I would lean Washington 7.5. I know, probably going to be the chalky public play, but I'll probably just won't bet it at all. I'm not in the business of backing this Panthers team right now. The defense is that bad, in my opinion. Raiders, Rams 7-point favorites, 43-point total here as well. I've been saying for several weeks that this Raiders team is totally dysfunctional. We've been fading them and with success, winning those bets. But I actually think the Devontae Adams trade can change that, if only for even a week, right? It might be those, you talk about like dead cat bounces. If you ever been into crypto, into trading stocks, any of that stuff, you know exactly what the dead cat bounce is. But it's also something you see in football, right? Where a team's terrible and they're just, nothing's going right. They make a significant change midseason. They come in, they compete the next week, and then they suck again for the rest of the year. That's the dead cat bounce. And it feels like one of those weight off of the shoulder situations for me now that Devontae Adams has been traded and he is no longer there in the locker room. But it's not just that. The Rams aren't a good football team. They're not a very good football team. I have respect for Sean McVay, but they don't pass block well. PFF has them as the worst pass blocking team in the league. And that's actually one of the areas, the pass rush, where the Raiders should be good. They've underwhelmed this season, but it's a spot where they should be good. And defensively, the Rams have done nothing of note. Their secondary has been awful. 7 points just seems like too much here for a team that has too many holes, both in pass protection and in defense, even if Cooper Kupp returns to the field. Is this a Rams team that we feel comfortable with them saying, you know what, they can stomp opponents out right now? Because I don't see it. Give me Raiders +7. Chiefs at the Niners. Ooh, Niners 1.5 point home favorites, 47.5 point total. How's this, my friends? How's this for hard-hitting analysis? Don't bet Patrick Mahomes as a dog. Well, you can. And you know what? You might even win this week betting against Patrick Mahomes as a dog. If I said don't bet him, I meant don't bet against Patrick Mahomes as a dog. You might even win. But long-term, historically, this has been one of the least profitable bets you can ever make. And that's what I'm going on. He is 12-1-1 for his career against the spread as an underdog. Also amazing that he's only been a dog in 14 games. And the 49ers are not firing on all cylinders right now. The Chiefs have proven, even that without Rashee Rice, we saw it last Monday, 2 Mondays ago, that they can be very good and still get it done. And Steve Spagnuolo's defense is spectacular, particularly in the red zone, which is interesting because they have a top 10 red zone defense. The 49ers, we talked about it last week, have a bottom 6 red zone offense. And it's definitely kind of your prototypical revenge spot for San Francisco after dropping yet another Super Bowl to the Chiefs. But again, I'm just not betting against Mahomes as a dog. Even if he ends up being 12-2-1 against the spread after this game, going against Mahomes as a dog historically has not been a profitable bet. Not by a little bit, but not at all. I mean, you'd lose your ass if you had bet this guy as a dog. Give me Chiefs +1.5. Jets at the Steelers. All right, let's go. Steelers are 1.5 point dogs at home, 37 point total. The Jets have now dropped 3 straight games, and they had literally every opportunity to win that game on Monday night. Every opportunity. And that slip and fall by Mike Williams to ice that game was a brutal beat for anybody that was backing the Jets, because that score could have completely changed the outlook. It completely changed. The final score could have looked a whole lot different if Mike Williams doesn't slip and that doesn't turn into an interception there. And look, I'm not one of those the NFL is rigged people. Obviously, I bet on it every single week. I play DFS every single week. If I thought it was, I wouldn't. But for all of those people who every week cry about the NFL being rigged every time a player that they bet the over on his receiving yards gets hurt, and then they cry and threaten for refunds from every sports book, if they had not used up all of their currency, if they had not cried wolf so many times that now it doesn't matter, they would have had a real argument yesterday, wouldn't they? Because some of those calls that went in favor of the Jets were crazy. I'm sitting here thinking, shit, do they actually want the Jets to win this game? I mean, the fumble called incompletion was wild. The pass interference on a ball that sailed 15 feet over the receiver's head. The one that was 8 yards out of bounds. I mean, they had every shot to win this game. But you know what? The only thing that matters now is whether or not Russell Wilson is starting, because you guys know me. I'm just not backing Wilson in these spots. I honestly don't know. I don't know why Justin Fields wouldn't start and just be the permanent starter until further notice. I don't get it. I simply don't. Your guess is as good as mine, okay? Because Russell Wilson just simply is not good, and we know that. And I'm not saying Justin Fields is great or has been great, but the Steelers are 4-2, and he's kept them competitive in every game, even in low-scoring games. Look, it's a team that relies on their defense. But even when the Colts dropped 27 points on that vaunted Steelers defense, Justin Fields almost had a heroic comeback effort, fell just short. They put up 24 points, and he had a great game. So if Wilson, who's getting the first team snaps in practice and looks in line to start, if he in fact is the starter, give me the Jets -1.5. I'm not trying to make it, too basic of analysis here, but Russell Wilson has proven time and time again that he's just not good And I don't know what suggests that he's going to be good now. He sucked in the preseason too, outside of one quarter against the Detroit Lions third stringers who aren't even on the team anymore. I hate betting against Mike Tomlin as a dog, but I hate betting on Russell Wilson even more. Give me the Jets -1.5 if Wilson's out there come Sunday. All right, Ravens. We got 2 Monday Night Football games. Ravens at Bucks. What a game. 48.5 point total. Ravens 3.5 point favorites. You know, there was a lot of talk earlier in the year about how the Bucks weren't good at stopping the run anymore. And I mentioned in a lot of videos that I don't buy it, right? I'm not saying they're elite, but I'm not buying it, and I'm still not. They definitely have some issues on pass defense, but can we acknowledge, please, that this team's finally getting healthy for the first time all season? Like, they lost Kalijah Kancey. They lost Antoine Winfield. They were without Vita Vea for a game, which is huge. They had injuries everywhere. Now Vita Vea has been back for a few games. It's made a clear difference. Antoine Winfield and Kalijah Kancey came back last week and made an immediate impact in a blowout victory over the Saints. And Lamar Jackson, I know, he's only lost one time in his career to NFC opponents, which is crazy. So I'm not betting the Bucks to win outright, but I do like them as 3.5 point home dogs. Let's be fair. Let's give them credit where it's due. The Bucks have pieces on the offense and defensive side to compete against any team in football right now and to keep games competitive. This could be a sneaky spot to back them in a game where most people probably assume they don't stand a chance. And we're getting them outside of a field goal at home. They're kind of rolling right now. Give me the Bucks +3.5. Let's close the week out with a real fun one here. Chargers laying 2.5 against the Cardinals, 44 point total. Sorry. The Chargers win games by playing ugly football. That is what they do. And we knew this would be the case coming into the season with Jim Harbaugh and Greg Roman at the helm. We just knew it. They had 35 rushing attempts last game, okay? 35. And they pretty much did exactly what we expected them to do when we bet them as road favorites, even if it seemed like an ugly spot. I expect more of the same this week against the Cardinals because why not? Why not? But instead of laying the points on the Chargers, I'd rather just grab the under 44 here. The Chargers have played games this year. The combined scores of Chargers games this year, 32, 29, 30, 27, and 39. That's crazy. They're 4-1 to the under. They're holding opponents to a league low, ready for this, 13.2 points. And one of those was 17 points against the Chiefs. They're also a bottom 6 offense this year. And Arizona could be without Marvin Harrison Jr. suffering that concussion. They got an extra day of rest, but do you want to bring him back? You know, your star rookie? Like 75%, I believe, last year. 75% of players with concussions do not return the following week. So the Cardinals look terrible. The Chargers defense has been humming. Their offense looks bad. They're just going to run the ball. They're going to play at a slow pace. Give me under 44 to close out the week on this Monday Night Football doubleheader. But as always, guys, I'll have the plays for the individual Thursday and Monday video. All of my props, all of the ladders, the round robins, the straight bets, you name it, will be over there in the Discord and in the Odds Shopper Tails app. If you want to join me, NFL 24, 50% off your first week or your first month, less than $5 or 15. Say what's up. We're having an awesome season. Awesome season. Would love to have you guys be a part of it. Otherwise, until next time, we'll catch you back here for the next one. Peace.